Hello, brothers and sisters. Hope all of you are well. As we have studied in the early part of the book of Proverbs, one of the things Solomon is trying to stress is the importance of wisdom, gaining wisdom, doing whatever it takes to find wisdom. So, as we come to chapter 4, we find that Solomon continues that particular theme. And there's several verses in this chapter that I think are important for us. Beginning in verse 5, Solomon says, acquire wisdom, acquire understanding. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Of course, this is a father instructing a son. And he's saying, listen. Now, both of those are necessary. A father instructing a son or daughter, taking in those instructions. And obviously, by many things that we see in our world today, not much of that is taking place. Apparently, not many parents are trying to give knowledge to their children, nor are many children taking it in. And we are paying a deadly price as a result of that. But then he goes on talking about wisdom, and he gives wisdom human characteristics. Do not forsake her, and she will guard you. Love her, and she will watch over you. And so, wisdom is something very much to be desired in our lives. But then, verse 7, the beginning of wisdom is acquire wisdom. In other words, resolve to get wisdom no matter what it takes. You have that resolve. And then he says, and with all you're acquiring, get understanding. Wisdom is no good unless it's applied. You know, we can have all the knowledge in the world, but if we're not using it, it does us no good. And so he continues, prize her, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a garland of grace, and she will present you with a crown of beauty. So you see all the ways Solomon is trying to paint the picture that wisdom is something desirable. Wisdom is something we need. Wisdom is something we should want, and something that we should go after. Now, let me say there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. You know, knowledge can come from books. Wisdom comes from life lessons. And we need to learn from those who have gone before us. George Santayana, a historian, made the point that if we don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it. Well, that is a very wise statement of itself. We need to learn from the past. We need to learn from past successes. We need to learn from past failures. But we need to learn from the past so we can do a better job. And so acquiring wisdom is learning from those who have gone before us and trying to correct the mistakes they made, trying to continue in the pathways they traveled that were good and right. Solomon goes on in verse 10, hear my son and accept my sayings, and the years of your life will be many. I have directed you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in the upright paths. So again, as we have said before, Solomon started off his life as king in a good way. He asked God for wisdom rather than riches. And so in this early part of his life, before apparently all of his wives changed his heart, he is giving good instruction to the son that he is teaching here. Well, what about this wisdom? He says in verse 12, when you walk, your steps will not be impeded, and when you run, you will not stumble. Boy, that's a great way to go through life. Not always being tripped up over different things that may come our way, tripped up over the many ways that Satan tries to tempt us. And so we need wisdom to be able to walk and run as we need to in this life. 13, he says, take hold of instruction and do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life. You know, people who never listen, people who think they have all the answers, they're usually the ones that are getting themselves in a whole lot of trouble. And then Solomon gives an important warning in verse 14. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not proceed in the way of evil men. Avoid it. Do not pass by it. Turn away from it and pass on. Now, this is very close to Psalms 1 and verse 1. You know, you do not tempt yourself with evil. You do not see how close to evil you can get. You do not watch it and look at it and long for it. Solomon says, don't even get near its path. Don't look at it. Turn away from it. Don't let it lure you like the mythical sirens used to do. Don't let that happen. Evil is dangerous. We need to stay away from it. Would you tickle a coiled rattlesnake under its chin? Well, playing with evil, looking at evil, longing for evil, that's like playing with that rattlesnake. Now, why does Solomon tell us, stay away from evil? Verse 19, the way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. Now remember, if we have wisdom, we will not stumble. But the wicked have disregarded wisdom, and therefore, like someone trying to walk or run on a very dark night, they're tripping over all kinds of things. But verse 18 draws a contrast to that. And verses 18 and 19 are going to be contrasts that throughout the book of Proverbs, Solomon is going to keep drawing. He's going to draw the contrast between righteousness and wickedness. So the way of wickedness is like darkness. But verse 18 says, but the path of righteousness is like the light of dawn that shines brighter and brighter until the full day. Okay? Someone seeking wisdom. Someone trying to learn how to live life the way God wants it to live. Do they want to walk in darkness? That's Satan's way. Or do they want to walk in righteousness and light, which is God's way? Solomon says wisdom chooses righteousness. Wisdom chooses God's way. And that's what you and I need to choose today and every day. Choose God's way. And may He bless you as you do so.